Well, this is Seymour Rocks reporting from down under. It brings me no pleasure whatsoever to be doing this video, but let's do it. So I came across an item by Guy McPherson, who I've not had anything to do with for just under 1 month, under a year now. But so I've given it a fairly, my article, a fairly strong title with a snarl and a whimper. Guy McPherson opts out, walks away from his followers, and I'll show you why. So it brings me no pleasure to say this, but it seems that Guy McPherson is bowing out of the limelight. As I have said, he does so with a snarl and a whimper, because his penultimate paragraph was this. He says, as I have pointed out previously in this space, the typical responses to my evidence-based work include betrayal, derision, rejection, isolation, defamation, and plagiarism. Occasionally, though, I am merely mocked. Most people no longer need me to point out the ongoing loss of habitat for humans on Earth. I prefer silence to battling proverbial windmills and actual morons. Well, actually, there always was a place, and there still would be a place for Guy McPherson if he was to actually do some actual bloody work. So he does offer, as an afterthought, a fairly insincere, to my mind, thanks to what are left of his supporters. I owe a huge thanks to my supporters. However, I can offer only the time I have given, and now my thanks. I have little else left to give. Well, he doesn't really ever point out, except for his sort of narcissistic victimhood. And a few weeks ago, I didn't pick this up. I was told. So anyway, here's his article. Opting out of social media. I'll leave the link in the description box below. But now he's essentially walking away from his followers, but he wants to charge them for what is left. So that was, he wants to charge them 3 options: Climate Defender at 99 cents a month, Knights of the NTHE at $4.99 per month, or McPherson's Champions at $7.99 per month. I wonder where he got that idea from that. It doesn't sound at all like Guy. It sounds like someone else. Anyway, so I've put in the article what he's said. I won't read that. You can go now and read it. So it's generally recognized that a good teacher, and this Guy self-identifies with anything as being a teacher, will see that some of his pupils have excelled themselves by taking it one step further, even being slightly critical. A noble human being will welcome the success of his students and wish them well. The narcissist, however, will not do that and will see everybody else other than themselves as being responsible for their perceived misfortunes. They will also cast themselves into the role of the victim. And we have that pretty extreme comment that I started off with. So I first came into Guy McPherson's orbit in 2012 and have observed the evolution, and I would say the subsequent devolution of his ideas through that time. I think that his research, especially on positive feedbacks, as well as on the destruction of human habitat due to rapid warming, were inspired, and I would still refer back to them. They all stack up, all the more so with what we're observing now. Naturally, there was a lot of pushback. Some of it was very unpleasant to such radical ideas, and the reactions of Guy McPherson made the whole situation worse and worse. During that time, I was, right up to 2019, one of the fiercest defenders of Guy. Just check anything on this blog with the tag Guy McPherson, and you'll see that. The implications of what he was saying were implicit in the message. It didn't have to be said. He did not need to go on to become the prophet of doom that he's become associated with, but then, of course, he did, and he's become fully identified with that. So he attracts the reactions that he does. Up to 2016, he was doing research and he was updating his essay. However, since then, he has completely stopped doing any climate change research. This has become crystal clear on his last visit to New Zealand when he appeared on television where he was ridiculed. And he had the perfect opportunity to talk about some of the latest evidence in the form of extreme weather that confirmed everything that he'd been saying up to that point. But he passed that off up to talk in generalities and with the we're all going to die message that he's become so associated with, identified with. And then there was this a few months ago. I couldn't even bear to listen to it right through, but he appeared before the New York City Council to give testimony on abrupt climate change. He was given a short period to lay out his case. I believe that it was sort of further cut back, but he spent 4 out of 5 minutes laying down his own credentials and saying nothing substantive at all. A complete disappointment. As I've been out of the loop for some time, and he was never that honest anyway, I have no ideas of his reasons and motivations. I can only talk about what I observe. I noticed that the more evidence that came in to confirm his hypothesis, the more reluctant he was to talk about it. Perhaps he just wished in his heart that the whole thing he created would just go away. Who knows? Now we're reduced to this, a daily roundup of news headlines read off a piece of paper and a roundup of the stock market. How did we get from the Professor Emeritus with something profound to say about climate change, if not the human condition, to this where he is reading stuff about the stock market off a piece of paper and wanting to charge people for the pleasure? First, he walked away from Empire when I first met him. He wrote a book by that name, that title. Then he walked away from most social criticism, and I have to ask now, has he walked back into Empire? In ancient mythology and in the Shakespearean tragedies, the hero has a fatal flaw. In this case, it is arrogance and narcissism made more extreme by those who walked into his life and offered him monumentally bad advice. My experience with Guy McPherson has taught me a powerful lesson, and never again will I become involved with a group that has become a death cult. So I've got to go back and correct that. I will research, I will make observations, I will point in a certain direction, but I will never again speak with such certitude about the future. While the original idea may have been good, being involved with groups leads to the most incredible biases that do not always stand up to scrutiny. So there we are. This is more, I think, about myself and how I kind of relate to ideas and other people. And well, it's been a tremendous wake-up call for me. Anyway, that's me, Seymour Rocks, reporting from Down Under.